Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I'm going to talk about something that is a game changer for a bug out back, everyday carry, bug in scenarios, whatever it is, and that is, this may look like a regular zip tie, but in fact it is a reusable zip tie. You can close it and you can open it by just this small clicker system. And there's a plane going upstairs, so that's a little bit annoying, but alright. The reason why this is a game changer is because the biggest downside of any zip tie you would have is you cannot reuse it. You can click it once and then you can only make it tighter, and then you have to cut it open, or you have to use a special tool to open it, and in some cases that's not even possible. But I'm going to keep these reusable zip ties in my bug out bag, EDC, car, whatever it is, for the next reasons that I'm going to tell you. And the first one is, of course, as a binder. Usually you would have knots, you would have a knot or a carabine hook or something like that, musketon. But with this, in my opinion, I find it very handy, because now you can take, if you're gonna build a shelter or a camp or whatever, you can bind two together, and then on the amount of distance you need, you can make it tighter. So if you would have a regular rope, you can make a shelter, but usually there is always one of the two things. You did not calculate the right distance, did not make the right knot, and you have to loosen it up, tighten it up, or loosen it. But yeah, that could take some time, and perhaps for persons who are beginners, a little bit more practice. But with this, it's very easy. You can strip as many as you want together and make it as tight in the right amount for building a shelter, and you can take it off and reuse it later on. Of course, it's not for shelters that are like made out of tree trunks, but for simple shelters, easy setup, quickly done. Yeah, this is very simple. So also, in case you build a shelter and you get caught by landowners, or there are bad people around and you need to get quickly away, you can just click it, open it up, and you can take it, instead of messing around with the knots, making it loose and in a panic tangle it. This is much more simpler for a scenario where it's like evasion or something. So that's another thing. And like I said, it's a good ersatz product for the musketon. So yet again, if you would look how much this way, you can carry a load of these, and yeah, I would dare to say you can have a whole bag of this reusable, or you can have a handful of these, and this would be the same weight. And you can see there's a big difference in mass perhaps, but yeah, I would prefer this over this in most scenarios that I'm going to talk about. For the reasons is will become clear. All right. So next thing I would say is for cuffs, but yeah, you would say, but yeah, if you're going to cuff someone with a reusable zip tie, how will this work? Well, the thing is, first of all, the person that you're going to cuff during a citizen arrest or whatever, they don't really know that this might be one of those ones that click open. Most people would, if you just look at this thing, I don't know, on first sight you would not really think that it's one of those zip ties that's easy clicks open. So in that case, you can use it as a restraint for a citizen arrest or something. Especially if it's on the back, it's very hard, and not everyone. Only if you would know about these, or person who is really calculated would think, maybe I can click this open. But most people will not, especially if you're being arrested by a citizen. Yeah, there are other things at your mind, adrenaline rush, and you will probably try to break it open more than try to. It's like people who don't look at the how do you say this, the sign that says push door, and many people will pull, or the other way around. So yeah, it's not 100% effective, but it can be used if you use it correctly. Alright, the next thing I would say is closing and opening doors. Why? If you, for example, if you are in a bug in, bug out scenario, for a bug out scenario, I mean, you want to close off a door because you are afraid that somebody might get in an abandoned building or something. Someone might sneak into the night. You can just use these, close the door off, and you can still escape through the door. And the other person on the outside will think it's locked, so nobody will be in there. So that's one thing. This is also handy in a scenario where there is an active shooter, because this is something that I heard some preppers talk about. Have zip ties, then you can close off certain doors of rooms or whatever, and that way an active shooter will not be able to get in. Problem is, sometimes there are multiple shooters and you're fucked if you lock yourself into a room or in a room that has multiple entrances. Yeah, if the active shooter is trying to shoot or break through one door and you closed off all the doors, you're fucked. So in this case, you can close them all off, and if you really need to escape the room, you can just click it open and just get out. So that's another game changer, I would say, because if it was just a regular zip tie, you close it off and you can not open it without a cutting tool or something that will give enough force to break the plastic. So that's another lifesaver, I would say. Another thing I would say is to use it as a bottle holder. If you find bottles during a bug out or a hike even, and you want to carry extra water, yeah, taking it always in and outside of your bug out bag, or you might or your hiking bag, you might are afraid that if you take water from a river and it's contaminated, that you will purify later, and you put it in your bag, that you will infect or make some other tools or gear in your bug out bag or your hiking bag dirty. So what you can do is you can just take one of the zip ties, put it around, and another one on the middle, and then you can hang it on your bag. And after you're done using it or whatever, you can just take it off, reuse it, and it is especially handy in very long hiking scenarios or perhaps bug out scenarios. And yet again, then you keep a bottle that you filled up with dirty water, and it will not contaminate other tools, clothing that is inside of your bug out bag. So that's already very handy, and it's already directly for use. You can just one click take it off and use it to boil or whatever. Alright, I forgot at what number we are, but it's around 15, so let's go on. Another thing I would say is, and it is something that many people who are into hiking will adhere to, I would say, is if you got wet socks or wet clothing and you want to dry them on your back on your back while walking. The problem is if you walk through bushes or something with a lot of branches, or you fell or something, yeah, if you just hang something to dry, usually whether it's by elastic band or with a clicker, whatever, there is always a chance that it will, by walking, it will wiggle itself loose, fall, you will not notice it, and you lost a sock. With this, you can just put it on your back, make it very, very tight, and it will be attached to your back, and it will be so tight that it will cannot even fall loose or wiggle itself loose. And that way, whenever you're going to take it off, you can just click it, open it, and yeah, you won't lose any clothing that you want to dry while walking. Alright, we're in halfway, but I'm going to be a little shit. And here are my books called Bloody Crosses and The Jason Murders. These are detective series. If you're interested in them, they're in Dutch detective series. If you're interested, there will be a link in the description towards them. So, alright, the next part I want to talk about is use it as a tactical way for your rifles. The first one I would say is, if you got a rifle like this, especially if it's an older type or does not have any easy attachments to it, when it's just a simple rifle, you can just take it, zip tie it, a lamp or perhaps even a scope or something, not to the front where the sights are, but to the side that you want to put a type of monocular on top of on sides that you can look through it. Imagine that this lamp is a monocular and a little bit closer, that you can look at a long distance, take a shot, look at a long distance, and the same thing goes with the flashlight. During the night, put it on, use it in a tactile scenario, and whenever you don't need it anymore, you can just click it loose, take it off, and that way you don't need special tools if you in a scenario where you only need to use it once or very short period of time, that you can just put it on and take it off yet again. All right. Next one I would say is also as a type of a sling, because not every rifle has a sling, but in case you want to, you can just make a zip tie here, and you can connect them with some rope or rag that you will have and use it as an improvised sling. And whenever you don't need them anymore, just take it off. And that's so simple. All right. Next thing I would say is building traps. Yet again, if you are out there for a long time and you want to hunt small games, a trap could be a good solution. But in case you don't have any rope, or you're not skilled enough to use the ropes in a way that the trap will be useful, because you want the trap to be I wouldn't say perfect is a big word, but you want it the best as it can be, and that way you can cheat a little bit instead of relying on your skills that might lacking. But with this you can just set up a trap with certain parts, make sure they are connected, and it will have a higher chance of working. Of course, if it's a colored one or black like this, you have to camouflage it a little bit, put a little bit mud on top of it. Yeah, that could be a little bit, but it is just a way of cheating. Uh, but you will have more chance that it will not get loose. All right, the next thing I would say is, and that is the reason why I'll always keep it in my car, whether if something breaks in your car or your bike, you can just use zip ties, put it together. But we all know sometimes the things get worse and you need to realign it or reattach it. So no problem, you can just take it off. And by the way, just for point-sided, in case you want to repair something in your car, zip ties that are made of plastic, especially if it's something like an exhaust or a part that will get very hot, these could melt. So there are metal versions of these. These work just fine. A little bit heavier, a little bit more expensive, but yeah, that's perhaps more for parts of the car that will not get heated, I would say. And for the bike, it doesn't matter. You can just take it on, take it off, and you will not lose anything about it. Another thing I would say is, and this could be very handy, improvised shoelaces. In case your shoelaces get gnawed, get broken, or you have to use them for something else, you can just use the zip ties, put them in the holes where the laces go, and you can just make them as tight as you want, and you can reuse it, because if you're going to use regular zip ties, you cannot do that anymore. And when a shoe is too tight, there's a problem that you will think, oh, I will just walk 5 more miles and I will change it. But yeah, then you can do damage to your foot, and that damage could be detrimental for the furthering of the hike or perhaps the bug out scenario. So yeah, I would say reusable is much better for as a replacement for your shoelaces. Another thing you can do is as a spleen holder. So in case you have a fractured foot, you can take a stick or whatever you have and just attach them. Oh, my under leg is a little bit bigger, too big for this. So I'm gonna take 2, which is weird actually, but there we go. So, and now my foot has been spleened or spot, or however ever you call it in English. I cannot. This move will be less movable. And yet again, when it's the problem yet again could occur, it's perhaps too tight. You have to cut it off, use a new zip tie. But in this case, you can just uh, put it less, a little bit less, that it will not dig into the skin. Or yet again, it can be looser, tie it up a little bit more, and that way could be used as a first aid tool. All right. Next thing I would say is repair. The repair of your bug out bag, your hiking bag, whatever. We all know, we all have this problem. I don't know what these are called in English, but you know, these are usually made. I'll show you. These parts are usually made out of plastic, and sometimes during heat, or perhaps a certain fall, or you bumped up to something, or just regular everyday wear and tear at the wrong moment, this connector snaps. So you can just repair it simple by taking this part, put it here, next part to the underside, and connect them. And that way these will stick together, even though these plastic parts can be separated or broken down. Another benefit of this is it can also be used as a sort of safety tool against robbers, because we all know how certain robbers work. I will take this off first. For example, you're walking down the street just with your EDC bag, bug out bag, hiking bag, whatever, and some thug is running towards you and just needs to, and it's loose, he can take the bag and run off with it. But if you are not sure that if the area is a little bit shady, that you know, like I showed you before, you can just take the zip tie, lock it, and that way some robber cannot just click it open and run off with it. So that's another thing. That's also very handy for your especially a lady who might have such a bag, and yeah, can be prevent some I don't know how you call it in English. So the people who are grabbing bags or something, leave it in the comments how it's called in English. Here we call it a handtasdieven. All right, and the last thing, and this might be a little bit unorthodox, but in case this is perhaps a technique that they use in, I think it's in the Marines or something. If you are in the woods, you don't have really a point of how do you say this, orientation. So sometimes you need something to count. It's like one of those that the Catholics use to count. You can have this with beads. You can have this with a count, one of those counters that you click, and you will know how many steps you did, or at every 100 steps you make one click and you know went into that distance 100 steps, and if you want to backtrack you can do that. But this thing can be used in the same way. You can use it in your hands like this, and you click, 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 click. Yeah, that's 2 clicks, but with a little bit practice you can create a discipline to only do 1 click. And if you know how many of these ribbons are inside of one, you know, oh, I did this many steps, and then you can know distances, backtrack, or calculate how far you went on reading a map or something. So click, 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 click. So that is just a very small handy thing, and the way you can hold it is just something like this. So it's not something special. Click, 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 click. All right. So these were 15 uses for a reusable zip tie, and in my opinion, it's a big game changer for hiking bug out bag. I'm going to put this whole bag inside. And one more tip before we go: if you are ever going to open a bag like this, don't open it to this side. Make a hole in the middle, and that way if you're going to take it out, you can take it out and nothing will fall out. In contrary, if you open this up, you take one out, everything will spill out, and that's a little bit annoying. So that's a little bit of a hack from the No Way guy. No way. I would advise to look at him. Got many good tips, and yeah, it's cheap. I would say cheap, lightweight. You can reuse it depending on the quality, because it is something that you need to take in account. Certain qualities, the ones that are more qualityful are of course more expensive, but they are worth it, because you don't want your back hanging on something, or something that will fail you, or get melting in the sun, or at higher temperatures, or you sit too close by a fire. Then the cheaper ones will melt very fast, I would say. So that's another reason why you don't go for the most cheap ones. But yet again, there are so many benefits of these, and you can reuse them. So you can account for having a bag like this in your bug out bag. Alright, so this was my take on the reusable zip tie, and I hope you learned something, you will take something from it, and like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers!